Good morning. This is Bob Passy again from cold Minnesota. Was below zero this morning when we woke up, and it's climbing into the single digits now. But it's a bright and quite nice day. Um, However, out there in the political landscape, we're still dealing with making sure that people have a real sense of reality. It's hard because there's so much political theater going on, and there's so many distractions that we are asked to pay attention to that it's not easy to hang on to a sense of reality. One of the sort of general ideas is there's a difference between what should be or what we think should be and what really is. The shoulds and the ises are often not particularly closely connected because life is messy. And part of what it is that if we decide how things should be, I mean, it's sort of like wanting to go on a picnic, and if it starts raining that day, you say, no, it shouldn't be raining for my picnic. And you can be angry about that, or you can say, well, okay, it's raining, and it is what it is, and I need to figure out how to deal with that, and maybe we could do something inside, or maybe we could do something else. If you stick with the shoulds and the oughts, you can get bitter and angry and frustrated quite easily. And the challenges of life are really much more about how do you deal with the ises, how do you deal with reality as it is, rather than how you thought it should be, or how, I mean, if there was real justice, it would be such and such. If there was real democracy, it would be such and such. If things were the way they should be, it would be such and such. Well, that's all true. It'd be nice, but the realities that we end up dealing with every day are the ises, this is the way reality is right now, and can I adjust and adapt to it, or does that stop me with my life and stop me from moving forward? As a matter of fact, that's kind of the definition of a kind of victimhood. If you get stuck being angry that life isn't the way it should be when something bad happens to you, and suddenly some of your alternatives are taken away, then you can get stuck in the idea that you are a victim and that somehow life owes you something to rectify what you had to go through. Well, that's fine, and you can stay there forever, thinking that it wasn't fair and it wasn't right, and somehow you have something coming. Nothing happens often, and you waste a lot of time. But to the degree that you can find a way to accept whatever was taken away is gone now, and that you have other resources, and you have to figure out how to move on. Even people that go through very traumatic things, like someone in their family being murdered, or even rape, or any particularly traumatic kind of thing. I mean, it doesn't, just even a death of someone you really care about, or even of natural causes, it simply changes your reality. And to the degree that you fight that change, you kind of stay stuck in a sort of victim-y sort of place. And other people can be nice to you, and they can feel sorry for you and things like that. But until you decide to go on with whatever is left, you're you're kind of stuck not being able to use your best energy and your best resources. You're simply fighting the reality that is, and somehow like holding your breath until you get what you want. Well, we don't usually get that. So in terms of the political arena, we have the power concentrated in a small group of people behind this establishment wall that has been there for a long time and been established and is very thick and protective, and we can throw ourselves against that wall all we want. We can say, well, we have to change that system. Well, that system is probably not going to change. It is way too heavily defended. And well, we forget is that if we accept that system is not likely to change, or that we don't have enough of whatever they insist we have, to be able to change it, we could just walk away. We are outside the wall. We could walk over and we could begin to inhabit that other place that we have been, that we used to inhabit, called a democracy. And I mean, it's sort of like, we've been on this train that I've called in my book, the book I'm referring to is called Saving Democracy, is the dystopian express. It's sort of the train that the alien ideology that economics is going to solve all our problems. It's the train that they have concocted, that they have created. It's bright and shiny and it looks great, has all the amenities. And the big thing is they've laid the tracks for where this train is going to go. And it's called the Dystopian Express because it's going to a place that's unsustainable for ordinary people. It's a place where we're getting pretty close to it already. I mean, where all the power and the wealth are concentrated in a very small group, and the rest of us are kind of the peons that do all the work. In other words, and there are other you can even change the engineer. That's what they say. Well, you can elect a different president. Well, you can elect all the different presidents you want. The tracks are still going in the same direction. And until you get off that track and you go back to the track that goes in the opposite direction, that is back to a democratic society where we have a voice in our own futures. We're not going to change that system. That track is laid. If we don't walk away and go back to the other one, I mean, it's not a radical thing. It's where we used to be. We have to accept the fact that that system is pretty much unchangeable. All of the people in it are pretty adamant that they don't want to give up their power and wealth. And they can't get along without us. It's sort of like a medieval castle. If the peasants if one morning the lords woke up and looked out over their walls and found out that all the peasants had gone, that castle is going to crumble because they can't survive without it. We're the ones that are holding the whole system up. And if we walk away and go back to a system that is actually sustainable for us, the other will crumble of its own weight. It will simply be irrelevant. And so somehow we have to begin to accept the realities of this world, and see that we're fighting against a system that is not going to allow us to change it. So we need to stop trying to think that somehow we can change that system. We can get to a different system, a system we understand, democracy, but we're not going to change this one. This is an alien system that has been created over the last several decades. It's not an American system. It is not what our heritage is. Democracy is. And instead of being passengers on the Dystopian Express going to our destruction, we can actually get off the train and we can go over to what I call the Democratic Local and hitch our cars to that train, and it will, if we're willing to put our time and energy into it, it will take us easily back to a democracy. Anyways, something for you to think about. We'll talk again soon. Bye now.